Hello, welcome to the Travis and Mary Sue podcast. This is our first one, so give us a break if we kind of are goofy about things. We are actually on our way to Cincinnati Children's Hospital right now for the Cincinnati Center for Eosinophilic Diseases, otherwise known as CCED. I've had or been diagnosed with Eosinophilic esophagitis about 6 months ago. It's also known as EoE, and it's a lot easier to say. EoE is a lot easier to say than the other word. It's like a $10 word and a 25-cent mouth here. So anyway, we're on our way there. Our blog video is going to be about my journeys with that. I also have Hashimoto's Thyroiditis, which I also was diagnosed with last year. And as a result of that, we got on the ketogenic diet. So we're going to be talking a lot about keto and low carb, and it's made a huge difference in our lives so far. We started keto about a year ago when I was diagnosed with a thyroid condition. I've lost 60 pounds. Mary Sue has lost 35.
35.
We'll round up, 35.
I gotta get back by then.
Yeah, well, and as a result of getting diagnosed with EoE later in the year, I actually gained back 25 pounds. Because that's one of the weird things about this is that with EoE, there's a lot of hidden food allergies that I ran into, and in my case, it was a lot of supplements that I was taking. I actually wound up going to the ER once or twice last year. I've gone to the ER 3 times, basically, with this EoE, and on the 3rd time, they finally figured out what was causing all this. When you're in your late 40s and suddenly you're feeling like you're having a heart attack and the light flashes in front of your eyes, which is what happened to me. I actually had a business lunch with my boss and another coworker and a potential business partner, and I just got sick, and I went outside to get some air, and next thing I know, this literally white light in front of my face. I couldn't see anything. I was just totally zoned out, thinking I was dying. They didn't take me to, didn't call 911. They were actually loaded me in the car and got me to the ER right away. And of course, the hospital staff, first thing they see is somebody presenting my symptoms. They're like, "Oh, this guy's having a heart attack." They call my wife, and they say, "Travis is probably having a heart attack. You need to come to the hospital." So,
An hour away.
My son was still in high school at the time. It's about 3 years ago. So they show up, and turns out it's just a really bad case of GERD is what it was diagnosed with. So they gave me this concoction that calmed everything down. But in hindsight, now that I've been diagnosed with this EoE, it's really easy to see that I was actually having a major reaction to the foods, because that's one of the symptoms that you can have is heart attack-like symptoms. So on our way up here to Cincinnati Children's Hospital, going to meet with some specialists. I've already given them my medical history, which is pretty boring, actually. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I exercise regularly, I run 5Ks. I was actually training for a mini marathon this year until a lot of this other stuff kind of came up and I didn't take care of it first. I eat fairly healthy. Again, the keto has been great. Going back to that, the benefits of that was last year my blood pressure was 190 over 110 at the start of the year. I am now at 109 over 76, so the last one. Anyway, my doctor says it's the blood pressure of a high school kid. Should be really happy about that. My triglycerides went from like 235 down to 85, which is incredible. Glucose level went from 118-ish to 96, I think it was last time. And this is just with diet modification. The exercise really, from what I've heard, doesn't really do a whole lot. It makes me feel better. It makes me have more energy. But as far as the weight loss, the things that's going on inside my body, that really hasn't affected all that. So I got into the keto side of things because reading about the thyroid, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, and all the lethargy that goes into that, and the brain fog, and I was having pain in my neck. So I had a sore throat for 2 months, 3 months, something like that. At least. And she's like, go to the doctor, go to the doctor. No, I'm a man. I'm not going to the doctor over a sore throat. Finally, it got to hurting more, so I went and had it checked out, and it led to a chain of events that led me to finally get an ultrasound done and some more extensive blood work done, and it came back as positive for Hashimoto's. Now, here's the bad thing about it. The person who did the diagnosis had a good reputation. His advice to me was, come back in a year and we'll test you again. no treatment advice, no...
Not even a handout.
Not even a handout, not anything, not a learning sheet, anything. You're on your own. So, of course, I don't like that feeling of helplessness and just sitting back and waiting for a disease to just run its course. My levels weren't high enough, he didn't think, for me to start taking Synthroid or any of the other, fake thyroid medicines that are out there. My thyroid levels were, what, over 900 for the whatever marker that was.
Thyroid antibodies.
Thyroid antibodies were over 900, and if I recall correctly, the average or the regular numbers ought to be below 35, so significantly higher. But even just changing diet over the course of 6 months last year, it went from over 900 to 536. So that's really good. I haven't been tested since then. I've been trying to maintain on this. I'm excited to see what those are going to be. But then went to see an integrative medical doctor as part of my treatment plan. Someone who's going to treat the root cause of this. I don't want to treat symptoms. I want to reverse this thing. So went and saw an integrative doctor. Actually is an MD, but he does more things of a holistic nature. Put me on a regimen of supplements, did extensive blood work on this, found out what my inflammation markers are, what foods I should not be eating for basic inflammation. But unfortunately, when he put me on some of the supplements, it's almost like, take 5 of these and 4 of these, and you feel like you're just taking a whole grocery cart full of medicine.
Big, huge pills.
Big, huge pills. Yeah, those big honking horse pills. So I asked him about it and said, why am I taking these pills? He goes, think of each one of these pills as not a pill, but as a vegetable or something like that. So you actually just, because that's really what supplements are, the ones that he sells. But unfortunately, evidently, something is in one of them that wound up putting me in the hospital again. I got sick, doubled over at work for like an hour, just sweat pouring off of me. I had a little fan in my office. I had the fan on, just laying on the ground in the fetal position. Finally decided to try to come home, and I think I can rest this off. Again, I'm a guy, I'm not going to the hospital. Finally, I'm driving home. Stupidest thing I've ever done, because I can't see, because again, that white, I'm seeing the light. I'm going to the light, Vern. I finally just text her, help. And of course, she has no idea what's going on. So she comes home, finds me laying in the bed. I did make it home safely. Door wide open. I'm surprised the car was actually turned off, because I just jumped out of the car in the driveway, ran in, stumbled in. Anyway, it took me to an urgent treatment center, because I'm not going to the ER. I'm just going to tough my way through this. I get to the ER, and 5 minutes in there, I start vomiting profusely. Again, it's a sign of EoE. I had a major impaction caused by one of the supplements, or a combination of supplements, right in my throat. Yeah, and it stops, right before it empties into the stomach. So it just locked it up completely. So again, if you think you may have this, or you're going through this, maybe this sounds really familiar to you. Worst pain I've ever been in my life. So Urgent Treatment Center said, no, we can't help this guy. It's a bit beyond what we get paid to do here. So they discharged me, and I go to the local ER, and they check me out. And again, they say it's just a massive case of GERD. No, there's no way. But they refer me to, what's the $10 name of the doctor? Gastro, thank you, gastroenterologist. Because brain fog is still something I fight with thyroid condition, so sometimes the simplest words just escape me. So anyway, go to see the endo and do a scope. Gastro. Yeah, the gastro. Yeah, not an gastroenterologist. Does the scope. It doesn't call me. I mean, sent me a letter, says we need to talk about this, but it didn't really have anything like warning, danger, whatever. So this past December, I had just turned 50. Time for that medical procedure, guys. So I went and talked to him, because he not only goes in this end, he goes in the other end and checks things out. And he says, oh yeah, I need to go over your paperwork with you on this. You've been diagnosed with this EoE. I had no idea what it was. I said, okay, so what does this mean? He goes, it just means you need to slow down when you're eating, and you need to chew your food really good. And seriously, that's the advice that he gave me. He didn't tell me anything that was going on. He goes, well, maybe your throat's kind of getting some ridges in it. You need to I'll check you again later on. Nothing. I really don't think this guy knows anything about it.
Come back and
Yeah, come back in a year or something like that, and we'll check you again, see how you're doing. So I start researching this EoE, and I realized this is not what he was talking about. Just simply chewing your food more and slowing down is useless. I'm not saying that's not good advice in general for chewing.
so we took to Google.
So yeah, the power of the Google. And we found out that this is actually a pretty serious condition. It's not all that uncommon now. It's being diagnosed more frequently now. But looking at the symptoms on this, I think I've actually had this probably going on for 25 years. I've always been that weird guy who couldn't eat certain foods without getting sick. And I've talked to doctors about it before, and they're like, there's no such thing as what you're allergic to. For example, I can't eat potatoes, like white potatoes. I would just get sick, just massively sick. Peanuts, of course, you hear about peanut allergies, but mine is not like the peanut allergy that you...
Anaphylactic.
Yeah, it's not anaphylactic, and I kept trying to explain that's not what it's doing. Well, here, have an EpiPen. Thank goodness I got it when it was like $4 to get instead of $400. That Skrilly guy, or whatever his name was, that started cheating the world. If there's one person in the world that we all united against is recognizing as evil, it was the guy that jacked the prices up on EpiPens. I mean, I think no matter what political party or religious affiliation you are, that guy was evil. And I think no one shed a tear when he went to jail for whatever he went to jail for, some kind of like insider trading or something like that. So anyway, she's always made fun of me. She loves vegetables. She loves raw vegetables. She is a summertime gal. I can't eat that stuff. Broccoli, raw broccoli, and cauliflower, and carrots. You know, the veggie tray that everyone says brings to these, potlucks or parties or whatever. And it's, oh, look, let's just have a little piece of broccoli and some ranch dip. Oh, it's so good. No, I'm dying over in the corner on this, and she's thinking what?
He just doesn't want to eat a vegetable. He wasn't raised on vegetables.
I wasn't raised on
vegetables.
vegetables.
Unless they came out of a can.
No, canned vegetables are the best.
Peas, corn, and...
I ate a lot of mashed potatoes, though, growing up. But yeah, peas and corn were pretty much it. We didn't eat a whole lot. Things like that. We weren't really a healthy family. We were like a tombstone pizza, chunky soup kind of family.
He never ate broccoli till he met me.
I never did, and my life has changed for the better. Except for the raw broccoli, because she's been trying to kill me for 30 years with that. But again, I'm thinking to myself, is it just psychosomatic? Is it just all in my head? Well, no, there's reasons for this. My body can't digest those things. And actually, I found that out because of the thyroid, Hashimoto's. That's actually something that goes along with Hashimoto's also, is the inability to digest properly nightshades, I think is what they're called, the raw vegetables, the cauliflower, the broccoli, things like that. My thing is I also have EoE, which makes it even worse, that those things are some of my trigger foods. I've also complained about apples. Like, why can't I eat apples? Because I love apples. I love the taste of apples. I can eat applesauce. I can't eat apples. So we're trying to figure out what's going on with that. Again, it just makes me so sick. Just lay in the bed, just praying for death a lot of times. Because it's horrible. So is it the chemicals on the apples they spray them with? Is it the wax they put them on there? Because again, I can have applesauce, like the natural organic applesauce. I can eat that, no problems. You're thinking, okay, that's not keto. Well, with mine, she's more, or able to more stick with straight keto than I am, because this EoE has so many weird things that go along with it that I try to stay as keto as possible. But every once in a while, you've got to have something on your stomach that kind of calms it down. And applesauce kind of does that. It kind of has a soothing nature. Oranges, I can't have oranges. I love orange juice. I love oranges. Oranges recently have been doing the exact same thing. Raisins, love raisins, absolutely love raisins. Did an exercise at work that involved eating raisins. It was like one of those leadership training things that they do to stop and bite into one raisin and keep it in your mouth for 10 minutes, and you roll it around, and it's training you to use all your senses and to slow down and to be in the moment. One raisin, I'm getting sick from it. And it was really bad because I was right in the middle of an all-day training session for that. So I've learned to to avoid certain things, but then certain things still kind of hit me. We were at Wendy's yesterday and just went out and doing the keto lunch, and we ordered a double Baconator with no bun, no toppings. It's got the cheese on it. So
we're going to split it?
Yeah, we're going to split it. You know, we're real, besides being health conscious, we're kind of cheap.
Frugal.
So, frugal. Yes, frugal is a better word. And she's just munching away on her side of that, and I'm sitting over there, and about 4 bites in, I don't know what's in it, but I feel myself getting sick again. And when I get sick, different foods affect me different ways. These are
more bacon for me.
More bacon for her. She's not crying about that. But sometimes I get sick right in the core area here. You just feel it just completely pinch up, and there's nothing going down until it's like an impaction, and it hits just immediately. Sometimes my food allergy kicks in, and it's like a slow burn builds up. It starts between my shoulder blades, comes up my back, comes out my ears. Sometimes the worst ones come out my teeth. Literally, it feels like pain just shooting right out my teeth sockets. Right through here, you get a bad case of sore throat. It feels like it's pinching off. Again, it's kind of like an anaphylactic, but it's not. And then you just get the sick to your stomach. Sometimes it feels like a migraine. It's coming at your nose, at the top of your head. And all these are just a food sensitivity from this EoE. So it's really not something I like to to do. So we try to avoid things as much as we can. So today at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital, I'm actually going to meet with an allergist. They've taken my health history already. Tomorrow I will be going back and having a scope to see what my...
Am I supposed to take this?
Yes.
127?
Yes, we are. Told you we had a turn coming up. So we going to have a scope tomorrow. Going to go ahead and check and see what my eosinophil levels are. When I had them tested last year, I was over 80, which I've come to find out I think is pretty high. Normal is below 15, and just through the power of the Google and several Facebook groups, found out
I think they checked the top and the middle and then the bottom.
Right, and I was over
the esophagus.
Right, and I was over 80 in all three zones. Mm-hmm. Top, middle.
For eosinophils.
For eosinophils, right. So,
I'm most excited about the education part today. That's the first part.
Right. I'm not sure how long it'll be, but it's an educational seminar that we're going to, and then later in the day we're going to go talk to the allergist.
I think more people are going to be there, so we're good to meet some people that actually have this too.
Right, and the support network is really good too. I was surprised to find out how many people have been diagnosed with this. She actually works with a lady who has been diagnosed with this, and she's decided just to deal with it. She still eats whatever she wants, and she has this hanging up like in the back of her throat, that phlegm thing. And those of you who have EoE know exactly what we're talking about. It feels like there's always something lodged in the back of your throat. You sit there and you got it all day, and it's an allergic reaction. It's a histamine reaction. Is what the way I understand this.
If you eat certain foods and immediately you start clearing your throat and your nose running, you probably are allergic to something in that food.
Right, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have EoE. What it does mean, though, is something that is allergic, or that you're having an allergic reaction to something in your food. You probably shouldn't eat that food, because it's over time going to build up and cause bad things in your body. With the EoE, what we're concerned about is that it causes ridges down the esophagus and eventually starts to kind of harden. Some people who have this actually can't eat food anymore. They just have elemental formula, and some of them actually have like feeding tubes and G tubes, things like that. And I don't want to do that, because right now I can still do everything. Feel the results of it, but I really enjoy eating, believe it or not, which is why I was a little bit overweight. Still am, just a tad. But again, we talked about losing 60 pounds. For me, losing 60 pounds last year on the keto diet, I gained 25 of that back because I've been experimenting with different foods.
Because when he's not on the keto diet and he eats more things than he can tolerate, those things are full of sugar. And one of the things that helps is Coca-Cola.
Right. Well, when you have a massive impaction or you feel like it's starting that way. I read,
throat.
yeah, down your throat. One thing I read online through some of these support groups is drink a Coke, and I don't know if it's the sugar or if it's the carbonation that opens it up. Talking to a friend of ours who works in an ER in a hospital, and is it glucagon that they give people who are having these EoE things, where they go, okay,
Like
maybe
it's stuck.
yeah, like if there's something stuck, they'll give them glucagon, which is just a type of glucose. It's just a sugar rush, and that opens things up. So we're thinking, okay, maybe it's not the carbonation in the Coke, maybe it's any sweet drink. We actually tried that. I had an impaction about 3 weeks ago, and just came in and, would you give me some sugar or something? I was kind of out of it at the time.
Syrup or something.
Yeah, she gave me some some pancake syrup or Karo syrup that we had left over. We don't eat that. Stuck in the cabinet from who knows how long. But put that under my tongue, seeing if that would open things up. I don't know that it worked all that well. Then again, I was kind of floating in and out because it was a pretty bad one. So we're hoping to learn about allergies. They're going to do the environmental allergy testing today, so I'll find out about that. No doubt I'm allergic to everything except for ice. And may probably be allergic to that. And we do filter our water. That's important also for the Hashimoto's, for the thyroid, to get the fluoride and fluorine and the chlorine out of your water. So we use something called a zero water pitcher, and takes everything out. So anyway, that's an introduction to us. Again, I'm Travis. This is Mary Sue. She is not only the most beautiful bride in the world, mother of my 2 children, but she's also a registered nurse. So when she speaks, I tend to listen, and she's got the most common sense of any person I know. I do sometimes.
He doesn't go to the doctor when I tell him.
Well, besides that, pretty good. Most of the time. All right, so we'll give you an update later and let you know what's going on.
Bye.
Okay, so we made it to the Cincinnati Children's Hospital. There was a little bit of construction on I-71, I-75. Slowed us down a little bit. But actually, the most difficult part about getting here was the parking garage. It's the craziest thing. Most of them just kind of go in loops and squares, and you just kind of go up one side and down the other. This one's kind of a free-for-all, but we finally found a spot. But we did find it was something kind of cool, is they give you this little thing. It's such a big parking thing that they give you this little map to remind you where you parked. So it's really cool. So anyway, here's the... where is it there? You can see some of the background there. Cincinnati Children's Hospital. So we are here. We're going to go find our educational course, and we'll let you know how that goes. Bye. All right, so we found our way here, and we're just walking through the cafeteria to see what they have while we're waiting for the educational course to begin. And it's kind of cool. They have this whole gluten-free section here, the Enjoy Life, which is a really good brand. It's really not keto friendly, but it is EoE friendly. And then the same thing, you've got the boar's head meat section there, which is pretty cool because it's gluten-free also. All right, and here we are. We've spent the entire day at Children's Hospital here in Cincinnati. It's been a good day. We're kind of tired. Been through the educational course. We've seen allergists for a long time. We saw, I'm dropping my stuff here off my shoulder. All the good stuff that we have brought with us today. Just put it on the ground. Anyway, so a lot of information to digest. Gonna try to find a Trader Joe's real quick because we're getting hungry. We want to get some nutritious food on the way home. So anyway, we're going to mull this over, and our next video, probably tomorrow, we will tell you what we've learned. So anyway, been a good day here. We'll talk to you later. Bye. And one other thing, we would appreciate it if you would hit subscribe below so you can keep up with our ongoing adventures. Thanks.